Hello, my name's Ben Smoke and this is The Lock-In. For the last few weeks we've been off air as we've covered protests that have erupted around the world since the tragic killing of George Floyd by Minneapolis State Police at the end of May. In this episode you'll be able to find a roundup of that coverage as well as an interview with Ferns, an organiser from London BLM who've been helping facilitate protests here in the city. Check it out.
Enough is enough. Like everyone's tired. Everybody's tired.
Systems that are around us and are supposed to protect us. They're supposed to aid us. They're supposed to help us grow. For Black people, a lot of the time it's the opposite. They're there to kill us, to detain us, to stunt our growth. It's hard for a lot of us to have this conversation just because it's a question of when does it stop. I am from London BLM, TNA, Tribe Named Authority. We're a group of young people from 22 to 16, and we're just trying to help where we can. The last 3 or 4 weeks has definitely been it's been a lot of uprising. That's meant leaving their house during a pandemic, and I feel like that should show to the world how important what's going on is. There was a situation, I think, the same day as the police forces actually, where volunteers, legal observers, and peaceful protesters, they were kettled. I've seen the way that when fighting for our rights peacefully, the police either find an excuse or they create the excuse to demoralize us, dehumanize us, pulling of dreads, racist comments to those who are in the kettle. I don't know, just be a part of the problem rather than a part of the solution. And that's not just the police, that's also seeing it from the media standpoint as well. The vast majority of UK media hasn't reported fairly about what's been going on. Again, I think it just speaks to the fight and what we are fighting against. And obviously the issue that we're looking at is not just police brutality, it's the Black flag. It's the fight for Black liberation worldwide. The experience as a young Black person in the UK is pretty much an experience that I think Black people around the world share. And so that means when someone gets killed in the US, they get murdered, they don't get delivered justice, we are instantly able to relate because we had Edson there, Rashawn, Mark Duggan, many names. And this, in the context of the UK, there's been over 1,700 people killed by either by the police or in police custody since the 90s, and none of them have got justice. Part of the reason why people worldwide are standing up is because in Brazil, for instance, we had John or João, who he was killed. And he was young. I think he was 12 or 13. We've had Tina and Uwa in West Africa, who, similar thing. I know there's been reports of things that have happened in France and Italy, if I remember correctly. We know our sister Remy in Canada pushed over the balcony by a police officer. And this is all in the last 4 weeks, you know? And I think it would be wrong for me not to even address our sister Breonna Taylor. Yeah, this is, for the Black people in this country, this is something that we identify with 100%. And it's something that Black people worldwide have a very painful experience with. Momentum is starting to wane, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What that means is that there's time and space for us to create the infrastructure that should have been there. The infrastructure that should have allowed for us to rise up and get justice for our brothers and sisters in this country. that should have allowed us to hold the government accountable for Grenfell, for Shukri Abdi's death, for Betty Mujinga's death. The infrastructure that's needed it's going to take some time to build. But what it starts with is community. What it starts with is us. And so as we do develop our demands, groups like All Black Lives UK, they've put out some demands, some fabulous demands. There's various other groups who've done the same thing. And all of those demands are things that we as a Black community right now, we can stand behind. There's so many initiatives and organizations that are led by Black people for Black people. And the issue is either funding or reach. And that's what we as a community need to get together to push in the short term. And hopefully we'll see the long-term effects of that, as well as talking to the government. I think the biggest thing that any ally could ever do is educate, unlearn, and be ready to educate those around them. That will have a long-term change. These protests, we can fundraise for them, and yeah, it will help us right now in the short term, but fundraising can never replace education, understanding the reason why we are rising up, understanding the reason why we may have certain demands that some other people, they don't understand. They can't understand why we feel a certain system or something may need to be defunded or dismantled. But that takes understanding, that takes education. And that even goes down to understanding a Black person's anecdotal experience, their own personal experience. It takes understanding and education, the willingness to actually listen, you know? So that's what I would advise any person who would like to be an ally to do, to educate, unlearn, and listen. We know that All Black Lives UK, they are planning to do protests every Sunday until their demands are heard. So if you are able to, if it is safe for you to, get out, support, do what you can. But also there are virtual protests happening on Saturday as well. That's with Educators for Justice. And there will be a lot of interactive workshops, webinars happening over the next month or two, kind of just to push the point of education and understanding for what's actually happening. And there's other ways to protest, you know. There's other ways to join in, because we have to be mindful. We are still in a pandemic, and so there needs to be alternatives to those who they're at high risk. That's all. Well, thank you very much for having me. Black lives matter, and they always will matter. There's Black women's lives, Black trans lives, everyone, all Black lives matter, you know. And yeah, thank you.
The Black Lives Matter protests are set to continue in London for the foreseeable future, and we'll be there right alongside with them. If you want to keep updated, make sure to follow us on Twitter and to check out our site. If you're able to, please do go out and show your support. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to come back in a couple of weeks for another episode, and like and subscribe everywhere. Thank you.